Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today we are tackling the lovely topic of estimating. We all know it's a great topic of conversation, and I have two industry professionals who are going to answer some burning questions for you. Today's special guests are Tess Hughey and Todd Watkins with Elkmont. So, a little bit about Tess first. She brings a strong background in reconstruction and mitigation with over 6 years as a project manager in the restoration industry. She's known for her expertise in writing accurate, profitable estimates and advocating for fair compensation. She formerly worked as an ag tech startup in San Francisco, where she developed a passion for leveraging technology and estimating workflows. Todd brings 20 years of leadership experience in the retail industry, managing diverse store environments and teams. He's also known for his ability to navigate tough situations, build rapport, and negotiate with professionalism and empathy. He's skilled in conflict resolution and fostering long-term successful relationships with clients and colleagues alike. So, without further ado, please welcome Tess and Todd. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hey, Kayla. Thanks for having us. We appreciate the time you're giving us today.
Yeah, of
Absolutely. Thank you
course.
very
It's
much,
great to
Kayla.
have you guys back on. Nice to meet you, Todd. Tess, welcome back.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
super excited. I think we covered a lot last time, but this
We
time we're
did.
providing another perspective, if you will, and that's
Yeah.
closing, but
Mhm.
also how to navigate the claims process. So I kind of gave a little bit of background about both of you. Is there anything that I missed that you'd like to share?
Todd, anything?
No, not entirely. I think she did very well.
Yeah, I think
Perfect.
think you did great, Kayla. I think the only thing I would add is I also grew up in the industry. My dad owned a service master for 35 years, so I'm very intimately aware of the business owner side of things and family life with that. And just enjoy being here and working with all these guys.
Yeah, I would definitely say you either are kind of around this industry or you just happen to fall into this industry that
Hmm.
never lets you go, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
doesn't.
I thought retail was one thing, but this is a whole restoration is a whole different ball game.
Totally on steroids compared to retail, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a good pill to swallow if you know what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
Right, exactly. So I know you guys both have great experience, but also you two serve different dynamics on your team. And I really wanted to make sure we encompassed all of that today, especially with the topic of estimating and claims just being so hot all the time, especially in the last couple of years, because there's so much work that evolves around claims processing. I wanted to make sure that we talked about some of the burning questions that people have. So one of the biggest one is challenges. I think it's very common. People say they face challenges, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys are seeing when you're trying to close the claims process? And I'll kind of toss this one up to Todd, and then we can go over to Tess. But Todd, what are you seeing right now at the moment?
yeah, so there's certain I like to call them tactics that we see kind of happen from the carrier upon submission. The adjuster one would they attempt to kind of dictate the scope of what happened and also the pricing when honestly the contractor deserves what the contractor thinks they're worth and not what the carrier kind of tries to dictate. So that's a big thing we see. And then poor communication. We have standard operating procedures that we take place in every day. Just trying to follow up, different methods of following up, just trying to see what works and what doesn't. So you'll see that kind of slow down the entirety of the timeline. And also, when you are submitting these we call them the invoice packages to the carrier most of the time, you'll see that, you'll have a third party come in, like a Sedgwick, Alacrity, so on and so forth of the world. And then all of a sudden you'll get an estimate of like half of kind of what you wrote for. Where again, our estimators are trained to they don't only look at kind of they're not scribes, but they definitely look at the entirety of the job to make sure nothing's missing. So I think detail in the estimating goes a long way, But as far as just to answer the question, the little things is, a lot of challenges based off of the S500 that, again, they're easy to justify from our standpoint. It's just, is the adjuster going to listen? So,
Yeah, I would agree with everything that has said. I would also say that most recently, I shouldn't say most recently, in the last few years, there's just a lot of turnover at these insurance agencies and desk adjusters, et cetera. And so you may start with an adjuster, and 2 weeks later, it may be someone new who has no familiarity with what's going on or the project. So that's a huge challenge as well. And then just to kind of echo what Todd said, there's just so many third party reviewers who just go in there and hack that estimate in half. And I mean, that's their job, but it's not necessarily ethical or fair what they're trying to get rid of out of the estimates and invoices that we write for our clients. And so, with our estimating and claims closing services combined, it really creates kind of a 1-2 punch where we're not only able to write these estimates accurately with proper documentation, but then Todd comes in with his knowledge and expertise and handles all of the rebuttals, all of the back and forth that is so time consuming. And for a person like me, it really just nags your brain. It drills a hole in your brain. So even though there are obstacles, I feel that Elkmont has done a good job of helping the contractor overcome those.
And I would definitely say to your guys' points, like you guys specialize in this, right? Where
Yeah.
your services come into play for one, contractors who don't really have the time or maybe don't even have the staff, if I'm being quite
Mhm.
honest, right?
mhm.
And the
Mhm.
other thing is you guys are familiar what's going on the other side of things, right? And I think we also do see turnover on our side as well, so we can sympathize with them and understand, gosh, if this is somebody who's just fresh out of their training, they have no idea what this is in this paperwork, in this documentation, these line items. They're starting back where you were maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, and we're
Mhm.
having a conversation with somebody else. And so it's really a long game, unfortunately, but that's
Yeah.
where you guys come in and you guys utilize each of your teams for their specialties, which is really key.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another portion of the Elkmont business that's kind of rolling out here in the future is a software called Leveler. So, what happens is when you get a new adjuster on a job, they may write their own estimate. And so that gets really hard because we write our estimate one way and then they send us theirs, and we kind of have to like go side by side and compare what's going on, what's different, why is their estimate half of what we've written. But this new Leveler software that is going to be rolling out actually takes the PDF forms of both of those invoices or estimates, whatever you want to call them, and compares them side by side and spits out the differences. So it lets you know, like, hey, they're missing an emergency service call, they're missing fuel charges. And so I think with our kind of our estimating firm, the claims closing process that Todd does, and then combined with a leveler, we're kind of have this threefold effect where we're really able to just get in there and drill down on what's going on, overcome these challenges quicker, because going through two estimates side by side is as Todd knows, it's a time consuming
When
process.
you're sitting there with your highlighter and you're like,
Yes.
I think that's different. I think that's different.
Yeah. Why is their price 5 cents
You're
cheaper? And what's going on?
you're scrolling
Um,
200 line items. You're like, oh,
yes. So, that kind of trifecta really makes us a triple threat in the industry, and kind of, I would say, differentiates us and helps our clients really to excel.
Yeah, and I would definitely say to your point, just utilizing technology is
hmm
key in kind of fighting those battles that we are now. One is time, and everybody is, time is precious for everybody right now, but also the accuracy with Leveler is huge, right? Because I think that I don't know if Jeff intended to do this, but it levels the playing field.
Mhm.
for those who are spending time going through two different estimates or invoices or even scopes. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be an expansion of this tool to make your
Yeah,
guys' jobs easier, but also for the contractor. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
speaking of the trifecta that you guys have going on over there, how does accuracy and speed of estimates impact the actual closing of a claim and its timeline? Todd?
I mean, it's tremendous. Having so again, like I said, they not only write, for what they look at through the scope, they go through the pictures, they take their time. And I'm not saying, this delays it by any means, but it's more of let's write a thorough estimate instead of just writing it real quick. Oh, I can get it back in 6 hours to my contractor. That's not
Mhm.
really doing the contractor nor your estimator a favor. Having them write a thorough estimate and going through and kind of documenting things, saying, hey, you could have missed this or you could have missed that. I think that's the Elkmont value too, is we kind of um, we coach on top of just estimating and doing our claims closure services. So we're not here just to do your estimating. We want to make sure if we have something that's working for you, we want to provide you with that. So you in the future, one, can maybe get us better documentation because it starts there. And there aren't or is no such thing as, too many pictures because we'll have contractors say, well, what if I have too many pictures? In this area that we're in this time period, there's never or there will never be a time where you can take too many pictures. That kind of segues into something else, but we'll wait for that for later. But yeah, I think in essence, when you have strong estimators, it makes the rest really easy when you're trying to, you know, combat or negotiate, on these contractors' behalf.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Alkmont, our team has just a huge variety of experience. So mine comes in construction and growing up in the industry. Todd started in retail, is able to use those skills to roll into claims closing. We have another guy, Damon, who worked for a large franchise for many years and then also owned his own construction company. So the estimates we write, we truly believe in. I'm not going to write a fluff estimate because I believe in what I do. I'm proud of the work I do, and that shows in how I write my estimates. We've all been trained in what we call the Elkmont way. So little things to look for. And because we have this experience and we've been doing this for a while, we are able to get out estimates in a timely fashion. We get those over to Todd. Todd's able to handle it and get things turned around because I know getting paid is always a huge bullseye on the door, right? Like we all want to make our money. And so I think that with our experience, we're able to write things quickly and get things over to Todd. However, it's important that we also train our clients to know what kind of information we need. So it's a two-way street. So I have a personal, communication and with all of my clients. And so I know in Texas, they don't want to charge any sales tax. I know that my client in North Carolina, he puts clean the floors, but he really means he HEPA vacs everything. And so I get to know all of my clients in and out. And I think that's important to note because you see all of these advertisements saying like $99 estimates turned around in 24 hours and blah, blah, blah. Like, what kind of service are you really going to get with that? What kind of estimate? What kind of follow up? The saying is true, you get what you pay for. And so I think with our expertise, our training of our clients, Todd's communication and correspondence with the backup of S500 or Xactimate, F9 notes, all really go together in creating a package that is sent over quickly and communicated to the carrier accurately. Does that answer
Yeah.
your question?
Yeah, it does 100%. And I would definitely say to, you know, your goal is to serve, but also to help people understand where they're missing things too, because not only does it help
Mhm.
you guys do a better
Yeah,
job, it also helps them essentially train their staff. So if one
absolutely.
day they do want to bring their own in-house estimator, they have the tools and the means to do so based on the
Mm.
partnership that they have with you guys there at Elkmont.
Yeah.
Um, and I think to your guys' point, it's better to underpromise and overdeliver. You never want to go with fast because it's not always
Mhm.
accurate, right? So sometimes when you're making those trade-offs, unfortunately, the accuracy may go down, or maybe the turnaround time isn't what was said or promised to. So then it's
Mhm.
like, oh goodness. So my husband always says, buy it nice or buy it twice. This is no different, right? Like you get what you pay for. So I think it's important to kind of dive into the services that you guys offer and why it's so important for you guys, right? You guys are passionate about it. You
Yeah.
understand it. You come from the business. So you
Mhm.
know that there are things such as fluff estimates, and you guys don't want to have any part of that, which is great because that helps propel our industry forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what are some of the common pitfalls that you guys are seeing when contractors are handling their own in-house estimates, and how do you guys help improve those outcomes? You guys have kind of touched on it a bit, but let's just hit this one head on. I know there's a lot of common mistakes with in-house, and it's nobody's fault. Usually it's they're fresh, and maybe they don't see things the way you guys see them. So how do you guys help improve the outcomes, not only with your services, but even for them, for their in-house estimators?
So I think there's a variety of ways to answer this question. Um, I will say that about 50% of my clients have an in house estimator, and then the other half do not. And the other half that does not, they are usually project managers who are running the job, training their crews, doing marketing, doing the billing, and the estimating. And so they start to realize as their business kind of starts to hit a flow and get jobs more regularly and get busy that they don't have time for the estimating and or claims closing portion of this, and they don't have time to do it well. I like to make mention of this because I just found this out recently. A client of mine who actually I probably write $2 million a year for them. Just told me that about every month. He stopped doing it now, but he said for about every month for about the first year and a half, I would write an estimate and then give it to you and see if I was higher. And he never could be higher. And it was just because he's busy and he's running 20 jobs at once. He's got a crew, he's doing marketing, he's trying to get paid. This is one less thing that he can take off his plate. And the reason we're so good at it is because I sit here and look at every photo. I walk through the entire Matterport. I know that if you're taking off a baseboard in a kitchen or bathroom, there might be quarter round. That if you have a 2 foot flood cut, but you only put removing 10 square foot of drywall, I'm going to use the 2 foot flood cut because it pays substantially more. So these are just things that we know. And so that's kind of for the 50% that doesn't have an estimator in house. For those that do have the estimator in house, there's only so much work one person can do, right? So if they get into storm season or a cat event, we're here to kind of help offload some of those projects as well. People are people and they may have personal things going on, maternity leave, and whatever it may be, where they need someone to step in and fill the gap. And that's where we're there as well, for our clients. And so I think on either side of the coin, so I think that for both of these options or both of these types of companies, that our services here at Elkmont are beneficial to all of those clients.
Yeah, and I would definitely say to your point, because you guys have the time and the means, that's your job every day, right? You guys
Yeah.
specialize in this, so you guys have the time to
And we
focus.
like it.
Right, like it's
Yeah.
enjoyable, right? This is something
Yeah.
you guys like to do every day, and I think it's for most owners and even operators, they just don't have the time, like you said, and it's
Mhm.
tedious. What you guys do is very tedious, right? So, like you said, you're looking at the photos, you're making sure that the line item is correct, right? Because that's the thing is there's thousands of line items, and some of them then can kind of mean the same thing, but the pay might be different, right? And so
Right.
that's where you guys come in and you guys use your specialty to make sure that your clients are getting paid for the actual work that they're doing. And that's the key thing, getting paid for the work you are completing
Mhm.
here. And that's where you guys come in. So, speaking of all of that, how does your estimating service ensure consistency and compliance with the carrier expectations? And why is that crucial for faster claims resolution? I'll jump this up to Todd because this is kind of more of a
Yeah.
closing side of things.
Sure. Yeah. So what our biggest thing is, we actually don't take on any like TPA work or anything like that. And the reason that we don't do that is one, because, we, our contractor dictates kind of what should be done on a job. And that's kind of how we base everything that we write for off of. So we tend to stay away from the TPA and it's not only margins, but they have a high control quality there. But what we're able to do for our contractors is I call it the pop-up book that we build for them and send to them. And that's included in our invoice package. So what happens is we'll design the cover page for the client. That we'll have all their documentation, work authorization, so on and so forth. We like because again, we like to make it as easy as possible to view, so that we can make it easier for one us to justify, for two, again for our client they can see it as well because we're an open book. We like to copy everybody that we can on that invoice package to the carrier, so the homeowner can see it as well to kind of see, you know, okay, this team they basically sent a huge overview of what happened at my house because a lot of times the homeowner is not aware of that either. Some things, or nor will they understand an estimate that Tess puts together. It's kind of like, okay, here's a 70 line items. What does this all mean? So we like to kind of paint that picture, as I say. The more photos, the more documentation that we send in that invoice package, the easier it is to kind of go through the approval process. And again, when negotiating, you never can have too much information. And a lot of our contractors, they kind of use that S500, that's the law. That's exactly what they follow. So it kind of makes it easy from that standpoint of, nah, claims closure is not easy. Don't get me wrong, but it makes it a lot easier when you have this pop-up book, as I say, going to the carrier with all the information that's needed. Um, it just makes the process go quicker than normal.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
definitely say to your guys' point, I mean, documentation, you're talking to somebody who's not even probably stepped foot on that, so they don't understand the entirety of the situation. And even for your homeowner, right? They understand like, oh, hey, I have mold, or oh, hey, I had a burst pipe, and that's what they understand, right? They know that it needs to be fixed, but they don't understand the ins and outs of getting their home back to normalcy. And so that's where those types of things of including them in the communication really does help. Also, it shows collaborative effort because our end goal is all the same, right? For the consumer
Mhm.
to get them put back together, to be in their environment, whether it's commercial or residential, to be livable or occupiable. And so, it just advances things that much further and to be able to talk about the documentation, right? At any given point for either of you, if somebody asks you about the documentation, you'll be able to pull it up and say, hey, yeah, I see exactly what you're looking at. You see X, Y, and Z. That's why we did what we did. And you're able
Mhm.
to walk them through the process because earlier we talked about high turnover. And so when you're faced with those situations, documentation is your friend, literally your friend, right? Um, and so, Tess, anything you want to add to that before we move on?
Actually, I do. So, and I'm going to steal words from Todd because Todd and I were kind of emailing back and forth about some of these questions. And Todd had the most incredible way to put this. And I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess it up. And this is not mine. This is from Todd. So Todd said, consistency is about speaking the adjuster's language without compromising on the contractor's value.
That's the truth.
That
I mean, at the end of the day, that's literally what everything's about.
I mean, as plain as it's so well said. And he went on to say that at Alkmont, we use Xactimate properly, but never blindly. So that kind of goes with those fluff estimates. We don't write fluff. All of our senior estimators are trained the same way. So if Todd gets an estimate from me or Danny or Damon or whoever else on our team, they're all written similarly. So he knows how to attack that and how to attack those questions. You also said, Todd, that we apply industry accepted standards while pushing back on inappropriate denials using proper documentation. And so using information out of the S500 or Verisk, whatever it may be, to support why we're using the line items we do. And then finally, you said we preemptively support every line with the documentation, photos, scope notes, to tailor it for the reviewers. And so I just think that is so well said and really goes hand in hand with consistency and compliance and how we kind of create that relationship with the adjuster, with our contractor as well. And I think part of that here at Alkmont is we also want to educate not only our contractor and homeowner, but also we want to work with the adjusters and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is the documentation we're providing. Here is it backed up by the S500. Can you tell me more about why you don't want to approve this? And a lot of times it might be like, oh, I didn't know or whatnot. And so we're not here to, slam the book at people by any means. We're here to educate and make this industry better.
Yeah, and I would definitely say to your point too, it's just taking the time to explain things, right? Not feel like, oh, here we go, or what's going to be the pushback? No, go in with an open mind because at one time too, you didn't know, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
we're working with people who are, 2 weeks in, they don't know what your,
Yeah.
10 plus years of experience yields. And Todd, for you, they don't know either. So just taking that time to explain, why we use Xactimate the way we
Mm-hmm.
use it, why we use the standards the way we use them, why code is this way, or why we did this. I think it just provides that collaborative piece, and even asking, hey, why don't you want to pay for this, right? Or,
Right.
you know, is there something that I missed, and why you're saying, hey, maybe it's covered here and I don't need that line item. Just taking the time to really talk about it. Yes, it takes time,
Mm-hmm.
but hearing each other out makes a world of difference too, especially when you have the supporting documentation and you know how to use Xactimate properly, right? So these tools, they all line up together, but just again, the human aspect of conversation and, respecting one another actually does fairly go a long way. Not saying that all of your conversations are going to go that way, but,
Yeah.
starting them
Such as
that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
such is
Yeah.
life. Exactly. So we've covered a ton, but I just wanted to close with, some success stories on your guys' behalf. I know they might be a little different because you guys wear different hats, but for you,
Mm.
Tess, I'll start with you. What is the success story that just sticks with you, that was
Sure.
directly impacted by a smoother, faster claims closing process for one of your clients?
Well, I think I mean, honestly, this happens frequently, but I have a lot of clients who I write fire estimates for or large water losses. And especially with fire, it's an incredibly detailed invoice estimate. We call them invoices for work incurred. It's an estimate if it's work to be completed yet.
Hmm.
So you'll kind of hear me use those two different types of verbiage. So in particular, when I write my fire invoices, my clients are always shocked because I will say, hey, I'm at 80K. Is this going to work for you? And they're like, whoa, like we thought it was maybe 30. And I'm just like, well, did you do everything that you said and review my estimate? If there's anything I need to take out, we can. And so I think that's huge. I mean, if these clients were writing their own invoices for $30,000, $40,000 when really they should be getting paid 80, that's a massive difference. And so I'm able to make them that money. And so, I have that a lot with my clients. One in particular was a big brewery out in the Carolinas, and he just said, I never would have thought in a million years that this would bring this much money. And that's a game changer for those guys, especially those PMs who may work off of and get paid off of their margins. And so you're not only improving their lives and helping the homeowner, but you're also, improving that business right down to that employee, which to me, that's big. And that's what keeps me doing it and enjoying it and making my clients happy and helping them make money in an ethical way, which is what we like to do.
Yeah, that, and I would just say before I bounce it off to Todd, I think sometimes we're part of our own demise, right? We're selling ourselves short when we're doing things
Right.
in-house sometimes. Not everybody, but those who,
Mm-hmm.
may not have the time to do just what you're talking about, right? Like, oh, we thought it was this when really the amount of work you completed and the materials you use and your time and all of that,
Right.
maybe that's stuff that they're not really thinking about. They're thinking of mainly just operational, like
Yeah.
things, right? And so you guys are able to open it up and make sure what they're
Yeah.
providing, for
There's
that
so
specific
much
job.
detail. I
Right,
mean, in
exactly.
Xactimate, there's 20,000 line items. And when you're cleaning a place, my clients will be like, oh, we cleaned the walls. And I'm like, well, did you clean the baseboard? Did you clean the windows? Did you clean the door? Did you clean the trim? Did all of that they don't realize is stuff they need to get paid for.
Exactly. See, this is why we have people like you in this world, in this
Yeah,
industry. So,
absolutely.
Todd, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean that kind of plays right into what I was thinking. Tess kind of pointed out a pretty big thing that a lot of people miss is um, contractors sometimes don't even know their own value until they work with us. So what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by that is Xactimate, as we all know, is designed as a tool to kind of come to an agreement on scope with your carrier, but it's really not designed as a pricing standard. So a lot of contractors that we work with, that's kind of something that I think we add value just in that sense of, hey, you are worth so much more. This is what we, can offer, and this is kind of what we can do. One client in particular that stands out. Tess wrote a. This was actually when I first started, so I was fresh. But Tess actually wrote a. It was a rather large job. I think it was somewhere around the $220,000 range. And the client was he was kind of negotiating it by himself.
He was
And
going to take 130,
yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was negotiating by himself, and he was happy with, I think it was the 130,000, something like
Yeah,
that.
it might have even been less. I can't remember.
It could have been less, but so what happened is we kind of took, all his documentation, what he did. Tess went through it, and then we went through it on the claims closure side, and then with just us taking that time, working with the carrier, going back and forth because again, we have the time to do that. His job is to go and grow your business, do your thing. Let us handle those headaches that you have because it's not worth the time that you're putting into it. So long story short, after going back and forth. Now I'm not saying it happened in a week, but with the time that we put in, I think we ended up settling on like 169,000. So that's $39,000 on one job that he was just going to settle um, at the 130. So it's little things like that. I mean, we're not selling a magic pill. It's not something that's going to be, oh, hey, take this. It takes time, it takes effort, but it takes the right people. So that's really what it comes down to is invest in the things that matter, and then you'll see your business really grow.
Mhm.
Well said, you two. I don't know if I could even follow up with that, but I think to your guys' point, the reason why we're here talking about this is because there's people like yourselves, but also, you know, it's possible to get paid what you were doing for the work, right? It's not impossible. It's just providing, either the right support team by utilizing somebody like Elkmont or knowing what you need in your toolbox, whether it's documentation or understanding Xactimate inside and out, can help make a world of difference in claims closure and just the process in general, right? Because then it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I can't wait to have you guys on again. I know I'll see you guys pretty soon. So, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us on Ask the Expert. And as always, everybody, we will see you on the next episode. Take care.